Okay, let's talk about something that sounds, well, kind of crazy at first. We're going to unravel this hidden thread that connects the melting ice at the top of the world, in the Arctic, all the way down to the price of food in Africa. I know, it sounds like a stretch, but as you're about to see, the connection is very, very real, and it impacts millions of people's lives. So let's just start with a number. Plus 50%. Just imagine for a second that the price of something you absolutely need to eat every day just jumped by half. That is exactly what happened to the price of maize in parts of southern Africa back in 2016 during a massive drought.
So, how in the world does a price tag in a market in Malawi have anything to do with what's happening to sea ice thousands and thousands of miles away? Well, let's trace the connection.
To do that, we're actually going to start at the end of this long chain reaction, with the food crisis happening on the ground in Africa.
And here is the absolute heart of the problem, this staggering vulnerability. Think about it. Over 95% of all the farmland on the continent depends completely on rain. There aren't these huge irrigation systems that act as a backup. So what that means is, the second the weather gets weird or unpredictable, the entire food supply is immediately in danger.
So what does this unpredictable weather actually look like? Well, it really boils down to a few main things that cause crops to fail.
First up, and this one's no surprise, is drought. We're talking about these long, drawn-out periods with little to no rain at all. Places like the Sahel, East Africa, and Southern Africa have been hit hard, with crops just withering away in the fields.
And this isn't some abstract, far-off threat. It has immediate, really painful consequences. You can draw a straight line from a failed harvest to that massive price hike we talked about. When the supply of food just disappears, the cost of survival, it just skyrockets for millions.
But it's not just about not enough water. Sometimes it's the exact opposite problem. Way too much all at once. So the second key driver here is the increase in these extreme weather events like powerful cyclones and devastating floods.
Just take Cyclone Idai back in 2019. It didn't just wipe out the crops in the fields. It literally washed away roads and bridges, completely crippling the supply chain. So even if some grain survived in other areas, you couldn't get it to the markets. And boom, prices surge again.
Then there's this third thing. It's a bit quieter, more relentless, and that's just the steady increase in temperature. This heat stress doesn't just harm the plants directly, it also creates the perfect breeding ground for pests and diseases that can just decimate a harvest.
And here's where we can actually put a number on it, and it's a scary one. A 7% drop in yield for every single degree of warming. Just let that sink in. Not over 10 years, for each degree. When you're talking about a staple food like maize, that is a devastatingly direct hit to food security.
Okay, so we've got the droughts, the floods, the heat, but what's the source? What's pulling the strings here? To find that answer, we need to zoom way out, from Africa to the entire planet. And we find it's really a tale of two major drivers.
So on one side, you've got greenhouse gases. You know the deal here. They act like a big blanket wrapped around the Earth, trapping heat and warming up the whole planet. But on the other side, you have the loss of Arctic sea ice. And this is more than just ice melting. It's like we're losing a giant mirror at the top of the world. You see, white ice is fantastic at reflecting sunlight back into space. But when it melts, it exposes the dark ocean water, which does the opposite. It absorbs all that heat. This creates a concentrated hotspot of warming right over the Arctic.
Now, you might be wondering, which one of these has a bigger impact on Africa? Well, when scientists run their big climate models, the answer for a place like the Sahel region is actually pretty clear. The increase in greenhouse gases is, by far, the main force changing the weather patterns there.
But wait, it's not that simple, because this is where the story gets really wild. The melting Arctic ice, it plays this incredibly complex and, frankly, surprising role in the whole thing.
Get this. The effect of the Arctic ice melting completely flips on its head depending on what else is going on with the climate. Right now, in today's climate, less Arctic ice seems to lead to slightly less rain in the Sahel. But in a future world with way more greenhouse gases, the models predict that the exact same ice loss could, paradoxically, lead to more rain. I mean, how is that even possible?
Well, it's all about this massive atmospheric chain reaction. See, that extra heat that gets absorbed by the dark Arctic Ocean doesn't just stay put. It warms up the North Atlantic. And that, in turn, can basically supercharge the weather systems that bring the monsoon rains to West Africa. It pulls more moisture from the ocean right onto the land.
So, you see, understanding these huge, interconnected systems is absolutely critical. So how can all this knowledge actually help the people on the ground? How can it help them build a stronger future for farming?
Because let's be clear, the stakes here are astronomically high. According to the World Food Program, nearly 346 million people in Africa are facing severe food insecurity. This isn't just about abstract weather patterns. It's about real lives and real families.
So, what can be done? Well, there's no single magic bullet, but there's a whole toolkit of smart adaptations. It means things like developing new types of crops that can handle the heat and drought, investing in better irrigation, and even simple practical things like better grain storage so less food goes to waste. It's really about building a whole system that's less fragile, from the seed you plant all the way to the market.
And that really leaves us with this one big question, this link between the Arctic and African food prices. It's such a stark reminder that we all live on this one deeply interconnected planet. It really forces us to ask, how do we get ready for challenges where the root cause is on one side of the world, but the most painful effects are felt on the complete other side?